I don't know where January has gone, but boy oh boy did it go past incredibly quick. We are now entering one of the busiest months for gaming, including some absolutely mammoth releases. Today I'll be covering the top 10 new Xbox games arriving onto your consoles very soon. Do let me know in the comments below what games you're going to get from this list. First up, we have the highly anticipated sequel to the absolutely wonderful indie gem Deliver Us the Moon. Deliver Us Mars is set 10 years after the events of the first game and now follows a new protagonist preparing to explore Mars after a crash landing. This new entry is stated to be the most ambitious game the developers have ever made, with a step up in narrative presentation, more gameplay mechanics, and a much broader array of ways to play. The addition of motion captured cutscenes from a terrific cast will also bring the story to life on this gorgeous red planet. The game arrives to all Xbox consoles on the 2nd of February. Now, one game that really doesn't seem to be getting much attention but looks absolutely gorgeous and inspired by Returnal is Scars Above. You can immediately tell from the gameplay that this is going to be an absolutely gorgeous experience and a very fast-paced third-person shooter. Many have played the demo that arrived not too long ago on Steam and likened it to a Returnal cross Metroid Prime, which sounds just like a recipe for success. The game features weapon crafting and environmental challenges, amongst making gamers feel how vulnerable the main character Kate is during her mission to find out what mysterious alien object has landed on the planet. I definitely recommend you keep an eye on this game as it's shaping up to be something really special. At number 3, if you're a fan of the Warhammer universe, then you will be ecstatic with our next release, and that's the third entry into the popular Blood Bowl series. Blood Bowl 3 is what you get when you essentially mix American football with little to no rules and blood-hungry enemies. This is certainly a game that I can gravitate towards as it finally makes a lot of sports interesting. Players this time can kick off with up to 12 teams in the starting roster, from the blood-hungry Blackhawks to the rat-infested Skaven. The new release in this franchise is certainly making headway this month due to its impressive strategy formula, improved gameplay mechanics, and a much improved competitive mode. If you've never played Blood Bowl, then I definitely recommend you do so, as it's well worth jumping in the deep end. Our next title is a game that was released onto PlayStation during the launch window of the PS5, but finally we are seeing this highly sought after indie gem on Xbox. The Pathless is coming from the excellent minds behind Abzu, and if you saw the reviews, you already know that this game is an absolute banger. You will take control as a mythical archer and an eagle in a vast forest with absolutely no minimap. You will travel this mystical island to dispel a curse of darkness. The fluid combat and traversal are the main highlights in this game, along with the great sounding soundtrack. This was an indie gem that I really wish came to Xbox, and we're finally getting our hands on it on February 2nd. At number 6 is Like a Dragon Ishin. This taking the widely popular Yakuza series, but now recasting the characters in a samurai era story that takes place all the way back in the mid to late 1800s. This is actually a game that came out in 2014, but they finally remade it and recast several of the people for having characters in a more recent Yakuza games. I'm incredibly excited for this, as it's one of those games I've really always wanted to play, but I couldn't as I can't read Japanese, and I'm certainly not going to import it. Now we have finally got current gen visuals that look as good as the current Yakuza Like a Dragon game, and I just can't wait. It looks really cool and I think it's going to be a great game. I think this is because every time I go back to old Yakuza games, the old style combat ones, they never feel as good as the new turn-based style JRPG ones. Like a Dragon Ishin arrives on Xbox February 21st. Now coming in at number 5 is Wanted Dead, a pretty wild and slick looking hack and slash shooter from the creators of the legendary Ninja Gaiden. I mean, you can definitely see the inspiration of the Ninja Gaiden series when seeing anything about this new release. It seems like a direct comparison to those games, and I really could not be happier. It looks like something out of the original Xbox era with today's graphics, and I'm simply all for this. After a constant barrage of open world games and huge lengthy stories, I'm glad we're seeing a return of these smaller but incredibly unique looking games. This just looks like a proper video game that takes itself as a video game, and I'm excited for that premise alone. The story looks great, the combat looks mesmerizing, and the visuals look outstanding. This game arrives onto Xbox on February 14th. We then come up to the next big expansion coming to us from Bungie, and that is Destiny Lightfall. With the amount of content these expansions include, we might as well call it what it is, and it's its own game at this point, and you're getting hundreds upon hundreds of hours of fresh new content. This new expansion brings another new story campaign, as well as a brand new destination to explore. On top of this, there's going to be brand new raids, exotic weapons, and another introduction to a brand new subclass called Strand. The developers at this point are calling it the biggest loadout update in history of Destiny, and to what we can see, it certainly looks like this is the case. We come to expect nothing less of Bungie at this point, especially with this franchise, so you can dive into Lightfall when it launches on February 28th. At the number 3 spot is Wild Hearts, an action RPG coming to us from Omega Force. We don't usually see Omega Force games being published by other companies, but believe it or not, this is actually an EA Originals game. Essentially, this is a monster hunting game from Omega Force, and I'm simply all for it. Wild Hearts is something Omega Force is trying to do to expand their reach and build another major franchise. You can only last so long on Dynasty Warriors, and with the recent Empire's release falling flat, I think it's a great time to see what this talented team can accomplish. If anything, this looks like a huge improvement in terms of technical and visual brilliance, and this definitely looks like it can rock the boat. This arrives on Xbox on February 17th. Now, I think I've mentioned this game countless and countless times across Game Pass videos, and it's my most anticipated game on those lists, and that is none other than the brilliant looking Atomic Heart. The game has an incredibly interesting development history, but at its core has a really interesting story and design, and I think we all want to see it succeed. This is kind of like a Bioshock / Prey-like alternative history of the Soviet Union, where technology, AI, robots and beasts alike are trying to kill you in as many ways possible. I think just the aesthetic alone has been something that's impressed us all, but all the gameplay sections we've seen, from the boss fights to regular combat, look so engaging and exciting. I'm super stoked for Atomic Heart, and you can tell this is going to be something special, and comes to Xbox on February 21st. We are now down to number 1, and I couldn't have thought of anything else other than the big new open world game from the Wizarding World. If you've ever wanted to live amongst all of those at Hogwarts, they finally have made a game for you. We have never seen a game with so many interior and exterior details all at once, and certainly not one based within the Harry Potter universe. I think what is great to see is not a huge open world, but instead a rather dense one, and the fact they've gone this route, we should show them all some praise. Early previews have given the game extremely high praise for some awesome spell-based combat, intriguing level design, and artistic beauty. This game arrives onto Xbox consoles on February 10th. That's all for today's video. Make sure you like the video, and if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to hit that button. We upload new Xbox videos every other day, and subscribing is a great way to keep up to date with the latest and greatest Xbox news. This is Fletcher from Xbox Nation, and I will see you all in the next video.